The sun had barely risen over Jakarta on the morning of October 29, 2018. At Soekarno-Hatta International Airport, the terminal lights still glowed softly. As passengers moved through security, many half awake, thinking about meetings, family visits, or simply the routine of another domestic flight. Lion Air Flight 610 was scheduled to depart for Pangkal Pinang, a short hop of just over an hour. Nothing about this flight suggested history was about to be written. In the most tragic way possible. The aircraft was nearly brand new. The weather was good. The route was familiar. And yet, within 13 minutes of takeoff, 189 people would lose their lives, and the global aviation industry would be forced to confront one of its deepest failures in modern times. Flight 610 was operated by Lion Air, Indonesia's largest low-cost carrier, known for rapid expansion and aggressive growth. The aircraft assigned was a Boeing 737 MAX 8. Registered PKLQP. It was delivered to Lion Air just over 2 months earlier, making it one of the newest jets in the fleet. To many passengers, a new plane feels reassuring. Almost luxurious. Newer technology is supposed to mean safer skies. That belief would soon be shattered. The flight crew consisted of a 31-year-old captain, an experienced pilot with more than 6,000 flight hours, and a 41-year-old first officer who had logged over 5,000 hours. Both were properly licensed and medically fit. The cabin crew prepared for what should have been an uneventful flight over the Java Sea. On board were 181 passengers, including families, children, and professionals. Traveling for work. Some had taken this route dozens of times before. But beneath the surface, the aircraft carried a hidden problem. The night before, the same plane had experienced serious flight control issues on a previous flight. Airspeed and altitude readings disagreed. The aircraft repeatedly pitched its nose downward without pilot command. The crew struggled, but ultimately managed to land safely. A jump seat pilot traveling that night reportedly suggested a crucial step: cutting out the electric trim system. That advice may have saved that flight. Maintenance crews replaced a faulty angle of attack sensor, signed off the aircraft as airworthy, and returned it to service. No one knew that the replacement sensor itself was miscalibrated. At 6:20 a.m. local time, Lion Air Flight 610 taxied to the runway. The engine spooled up, and the aircraft lifted smoothly into the humid morning air. Initial climb appeared normal. But almost immediately after takeoff, the first warning signs emerged. The captain's airspeed indicator disagreed with the first officer's. Altitude readings did not match. The stick shaker, a device designed to warn pilots of an impending stall, activated on the captain's side and did not stop. This was not just distracting, it was physically exhausting and psychologically overwhelming. As the aircraft climbed through a few thousand feet, the pilots requested permission to return to Jakarta, reporting flight control problems. Air traffic control acknowledged and cleared them to maintain altitude. Inside the cockpit, confusion grew. The aircraft's nose began to pitch down unexpectedly. The pilots pulled back on the control column, countering the movement. Seconds later, the nose pitched down again. Unknown to the crew, a new automated system called MCAS, the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, had activated. MCAS was designed to push the nose down automatically if it believed the aircraft was at risk of stalling. It relied heavily on data from a single angle of attack sensor. That sensor, newly installed, was sending incorrect information, falsely indicating a dangerously high angle of attack. MCAS responded exactly as it was programmed to do. It repeatedly trimmed the horizontal stabilizer to force the nose down. Minute by minute, the situation deteriorated. At around 1 minute after takeoff, MCAS activated for the first time, trimming the nose down for about 10 seconds. The pilots reacted by pulling up and using electric trim to correct the aircraft's attitude. For a brief moment, control was restored. But then MCAS activated again. And again. Each cycle pushed the stabilizer further toward a nose-down position. The cockpit environment became increasingly chaotic. Alarms sounded. Warnings flashed. The stick shaker continued relentlessly on the captain's side. The crew focused on keeping the aircraft level, while also communicating with air traffic control and trying to diagnose multiple, conflicting indications. The aircraft was flying at high speed, increasing the control forces needed to counter the trim. The faster the plane went, the harder it became to pull the nose up. Around 8 minutes into the flight, the captain handed control to the first officer, possibly to troubleshoot or manage communications. The first officer struggled to maintain altitude. MCAS activated once more, driving the stabilizer even further nose down. The crew did not appear to fully understand that a single automated system was repeatedly overriding their inputs. They did not cut out the stabilizer trim system, a procedure that could have disabled MCAS entirely. Crucially, many pilots around the world had never been properly trained on MCAS, or even told it existed. As the aircraft descended, the pilots requested vectors back to the airport. Air traffic control provided headings, unaware of the severity unfolding in the cockpit. The plane began losing altitude rapidly. At approximately 11 minutes after takeoff, the aircraft entered a steep dive. Control forces became overwhelming. The stabilizer was now trimmed so far nose down that manual recovery was nearly impossible at that speed. The final seconds were devastating. The aircraft plunged into the Java Sea at high velocity, breaking apart on impact. There was no distress call in the final moments. The crash site was scattered across the water, debris floating amid oil slicks and personal belongings. All 189 people on board were killed instantly. The shockwaves from Lion Air Flight 610 spread around the world. How could a brand new aircraft crash just minutes after takeoff? How could experienced pilots lose control so completely? As search and recovery operations began, investigators from Indonesia's National Transportation Safety Committee, along with experts from Boeing, the FAA, and other international agencies, worked to piece together the puzzle. Flight data recorders revealed the truth hidden in the numbers. The angle of attack sensor was sending faulty data from the moment of liftoff. MCAS had activated more than 20 times during the short flight, each time pushing the nose down. The system relied on a single sensor and had the authority to move the stabilizer repeatedly without clear limits. The pilots were fighting not just a malfunction, but the aircraft's own design logic. Human factors played a crucial role. The crew was overwhelmed by multiple failures, alarms, and conflicting information. The stick shaker distraction alone significantly increased workload. The absence of clear training on MCAS meant the pilots did not fully recognize what was happening. Procedures existed for runaway stabilizer trim, but identifying the problem amid the chaos proved extremely difficult. In aviation, seconds matter. In this case, confusion consumed those seconds. Technical causes went even deeper. Boeing had introduced MCAS to make the 737 MAX handle similarly to previous 737 models, reducing the need for costly simulator training. To achieve this, MCAS was kept largely invisible to pilots. It was not clearly documented in flight manuals. Its failure modes were not emphasized. A system designed to enhance safety became, under rare but plausible conditions, a single point of catastrophic failure. Regulatory oversight also came under intense scrutiny. The FAA had delegated significant portions of the aircraft's certification process to Boeing itself. Assumptions were made about pilot response times and failure probabilities that, in hindsight, proved dangerously optimistic. The global aviation system had relied too heavily on the idea that automation would always help, and that pilots would always be able to override it. As the investigation continued, another tragedy struck. In March 2019, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, another Boeing 737 MAX, crashed under eerily similar circumstances, killing 157 people. The pattern was undeniable. The world's aviation authorities grounded the entire 737 MAX fleet, marking one of the most significant groundings in history. From the wreckage of Lion Air Flight 610 emerged painful but necessary lessons. Automation must never be hidden from the humans expected to manage it. Systems should not rely on a single sensor for critical decisions. Pilots must be fully informed, thoroughly trained, and empowered to understand every major system on their aircraft. Safety culture cannot be compromised for speed, cost, or competition. The crash also reminded the world that aviation safety is a shared responsibility. Manufacturers, regulators, airlines, maintenance crews, and pilots all play interconnected roles. A failure in one link can cascade into disaster. Lion Air Flight 610 was not the result of one mistake, but a chain of decisions, assumptions, and oversight, years and continents. In the end, the victims of Flight 610 became unwilling catalysts for change. Software updates were developed. MCAS was redesigned to use data from multiple sensors and to limit its authority. Pilot training requirements were strengthened. Certification processes were re-examined. These changes came too late for the 189 lives lost, but they now protect millions of passengers around the world. As we reflect on Lion Air Flight 610, we are reminded that progress in aviation has always been written in both triumph and tragedy. Each accident carries a heavy human cost, but also a responsibility to learn, to improve, and to ensure that those lives were not lost in vain. The sky remains one of humanity's greatest achievements, but it demands humility, vigilance, and an unwavering commitment to safety. Only by remembering flights like Lion Air 610 can we honor the victims and keep the promise that flying, above all else, must remain safe.